Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Jones, and this is Beyond the Feature, the podcast where we turn technology budgets into business value by fixing workflows, not collecting features. I have a Microsoft 365 companion series, Microsoft Purview companion series, Microsoft Intune Playbook, and Security Made Simple book series on Amazon. These are loaded with cool features. The courses on Olympus Academy train on some of the main features of the various apps of Microsoft 365. And my YouTube channel has videos demoing features of the different apps. Features are definitely the ingredients, but this podcast is about taking those ingredients and creating a recipe for return on investment with your Microsoft 365. If you've been with me these last few episodes, you can probably recite our foundations by heart now. Behavior lives where work happens. Defaults are destiny. Rituals beat reminders. Decisions need a trace. Today we're going to talk about the piece that ties all of that together and convinces busy people, especially the ones holding the purse strings, that this isn't theater, it's progress. So the title of today's episode is simple. Measurement should be plain English. You don't need a PhD dashboard to know if your workflow improved. You need observable change that a smart human can recognize in 10 seconds. That's it. And yes, you can do the return on investment math if you want. Benefits minus cost divided by cost multiplied by 100. But don't let the math delay momentum. On this show, measurement is evidence of change, not a barrier to change. So let me start with a familiar scene. A team has just run a few experiments. Shorter meetings by default, shared links instead of attachments, a simple decision line at the top of documents. We use those examples a lot, as you can tell. So the spirits are high. Then someone asks, how do we prove it worked? And suddenly the energy drains out of the room because the answer feels like weeks of instrumentation and dashboards and ticket tags, and all the oxygen goes to analytics instead of improvements. We're not doing that. We're not going to prove it worked in the language of that. We're going to prove that it worked in the language of everyday work. Here's the energy I want in your head. Could an observant colleague, someone who knows your job, not your tools, walk into your world for 5 minutes and say, yep, that's better? If the answer is yes, you have something worth capturing. So let me give you another small story. A client once asked me for a proper adoption dashboard before they touched a single behavior. I said, I'll give you one slide, not a dashboard, and we can build the dashboard later if you still want it. For a week, they ran 3 changes. Meetings defaulted to 25 minutes with a tiny agenda seed in the invitation. Links replaced attachments. And then every decision got a 1-line header in the doc. Again, we use those a lot. Friday came, and the slide had 3 sentences. Average status meeting went from 60 minutes to 25. Access and version pings went from 15 to 4. 3 of 4 teams could point to last week's decision in under 10 seconds. We put that slide in front of finance, and the finance leader literally said, I can feel that. Funding approved. Not because we dazzled anyone with graphs, but because we told the truth in plain English. That's what we're after. Change you can feel, captured in sentences that stand up in daylight. So, how do you get there without turning into a survey machine? Start by listening for clarity. Are meetings shorter or clearer than they were? Not theoretically. Did you notice it? Did the scrum end on time for once? Did the status call start with purpose, end with a decision, and not spill into an after meeting of confused chat threads? That's measurement. You can turn that observation into a line. Our weekly status is now 25 minutes and ends with a decision in the doc. That line is better than a chart you'll never maintain. Then listen for silence. There are two kinds of silence. The scary kind, when your tools are down, and the good kind, when the interruptions you used to live with just stop. The day you realize you haven't fielded a can't open the file message, or the day no one asks which version is real. That's data. It's the absence of noise. Write it down. We went from 5 access version interruptions a week to 1. That's a sentence with a number. Executives love sentences with numbers. Finally, look for decisions that survive the weekend. You know the kind. You agreed on Thursday, forgot on Monday, and fought about it on Tuesday. If you're using a simple trace, a one-line decision at the top of the doc, approval resolved in the comments, maybe a quick task or two, you can answer what changed without spelunking through chat. That's not a saner, it's more measurable. We can find last week's decision in under 10 seconds. The speed is the point. If it takes 20 minutes, it's not trace, it's archaeology. Now, at this point, someone always says, Patrick, anecdotes aren't data. And I agree, until you collect them consistently. Do the same small check every Friday for 4 weeks. Ask your team, were meetings shorter or clearer? How many access or version pings did we get? Could we point to the last decision in under 10 seconds? Post the answers in your team channel as a quick note. That's not vibes, that's a trend. And a trend, written in plain English, is surprisingly persuasive. You might be hearing a theme from earlier episodes. Teaching in context, choosing better defaults, embedding simple rituals, leaving a visible trace. These aren't just clever change tactics. They're measurable by design because they happen where the work happens. If your workflow change is hiding in a slide deck or a tab, tenant or a lab somewhere or a spreadsheet you only open on Fridays, you'll struggle to measure it because you barely experience it. But if the change lives in the shared space, in the real channel, the real document, the actual meeting invite, then the measurement is practically sitting there with a pen saying, write me down. Now I can feel the data folks in the audience itching for the return on investment math. So let's do a respectful nod without turning this into a finance lecture. If you want to translate those plain English wins into a return, it's not complicated. Minutes saved times the number of people affected times how often it happens, multiplied by a realistic loaded rate. Add avoided support interruptions, count the pings you didn't have. Add avoided spend if you retire redundant tools. Subtract the real costs, the time to run a 1-hour lab, a couple of short training clips, and yes, books from the Microsoft 365 Companion Series or Olympus Academy courses or one of my short YouTube pieces. And maybe a bit of communications. Put that into a classic return on investment formula and you'll get a percentage. That's great for certain audiences, but keep the order straight. Start with the sentence, then add the number. Don't make the number a toll booth before change is allowed to drive. And we should talk about the trap here. The trap is mistaking sophistication for credibility. I've seen gorgeous dashboards that mask the fact that nothing changed. They're interesting, they're accurate, and they're useless. I'd rather have 3 unsexy sentences that describe real behavior. Meetings are shorter and clearer. We stopped fighting access and version issues. We decided once and in one place. If those statements are true, your technology investment is paying you back right now in time and sanity. We can calculate the cash later. And when you do, those sentences will make the math more believable, not less. What about objections? Someone will say, we need real analytics. And sure, at scale, instrumentation helps you see patterns across teams. But early on, don't let the quest for real delay the reality you're already feeling. Collect those 3 checks for a month. Shorter, clearer meetings, fewer interruptions, findable decisions, and you'll have a primitive but powerful picture. Another objection: our leadership won't buy anecdotes. They won't buy random anecdotes. They will absolutely buy a crisp before and after story with a number attached. Weekly status, 60 to 25 minutes. That's not anecdote. That's arithmetic written like a human. Let me give you a kitchen metaphor, because it's dinner time somewhere. We say features are ingredients and workflows are the recipe. Measurement is the taste test. You don't need a lab to know if dinner improved. You taste it. You ask the table. You know what worked, and you adjust the next time you cook. Later, if you want to count calories or protein, great, especially if you're training for something. But if you never taste the food because you're busy building a spreadsheet, you'll miss the whole point of cooking. So here's how I want you to leave today's episode. Pick a team, just one, and for the next 2 Fridays, ask the same 3 plain English questions. Were meetings shorter or clearer? Did access versions interruptions drop? Could you find the last decision fast? Write a single post with 3 short answers. Pin it. That's your scoreboard. If someone on the team needs a tiny skill refresher to keep the changes going, how to add an agenda seed to the invite, how to set the right link, how to add that decision line, send them to the 365 Companion Series books, right? Or the Olympus Academy lesson, or find the YouTube clip I have out there on it. In fact, I recently created a YouTube video, 2 minutes, for how to add the agenda to a meeting invite, and even Copilot can do it for you. In other words, grab the ingredient you need to keep the recipe working, but don't turn dinner back into a cooking show. If you do just that, collect 2 weeks of plain English evidence, you'll notice something wonderful. People who were skeptical start repeating the language. That was shorter and clearer. We didn't chase links this week. The decision's right here. And when your team starts speaking in outcomes, your software investment starts speaking for itself. Measurement should be plain English because work is lived in plain English. Keep it observable. Keep it repeatable. Write it down. Then, when you want to translate it into return on investment, the numbers have a story to ride on. Next time, we'll tackle speed and safety together, how to move faster without getting sloppy, and which tiny signals tell you you're improving quality and reducing risk at the same time. Now, if you like this episode, make sure to subscribe so it shows up right in your feed. And if you think someone else should listen, share away and rate it. Those ratings help others find it as well. And like it so that I know it's hitting the mark. Until then, remember, features are ingredients, workflows are the recipe, and plain English measurement is the taste test that proves it's working.